Okay, in this video, we're going to be talking about Section 4C, dealing with savings plans and investments. Okay? For most people, a more realistic way to save is by depositing smaller amounts on a regular basis. Such long-term savings plans are so popular that many have special names, and some get special treatment. Tax treatment, I should say, including the individual retirement accounts or IRAs, 401k plans, and 529 college saving plans. Okay? Now, the formula that we'll be using here would be for the savings plan formula if you're making regular payments. And that's going to be A is equal to PMT multiplied by the quantity 1 plus APR divided by N raised to the N times Y, and then minus 1. That whole thing will be divided by APR divided by N. Now here your A is going to be the accumulated savings plan balance. PMT is the regular payment or deposit amount. APR is the annual percentage rate as a decimal. And then N is the number of payment plans in a year. Y will be the number of years. Okay, so we're going to be using that particular formula to do some of these examples here. Like in example 1. He'll want to find the savings plan balance after 15 months with an APR of 3% and monthly payments of $100. Okay? So we want to find out what that balance is in this case. Now, in this case, we got 15 months. Y is going to be the number of years. That means we need to convert 15 months into a decimal amount of years. So in this case here, this will be Y is equal to, we're going to take 15 months, divide that by, and there are 12 months in a year, so we're going to divide that by 12 months. So 15 divided by 12 will be 1.25. So here, the Y is going to be 1.25. Keep in mind, if it's in years, you have to divide by, in months, you have to divide by 12 to get the decimal amount in years. The APR is 3%. Now, 3% as a decimal will be 0.03. And your payment, that's the PMT, that's going to be $100. And of course, if it's monthly, that means that there are 12 months in a year. So N is equal to 12. Okay. So here the A is equal to, and we have to use that formula that I just showed you, and I'll write it again. PMT multiplied by the quantity of 1 plus APR divided by N, and that quantity is to the N times Y power minus 1. All divided by APR divided by N. Now let's substitute some values into that particular savings plan formula. In this case here, the A is equal to the payment PMT is $1,000 times 1 plus your APR is 0.03 divided by N, that's going to be 12, and that quantity is to the n times y. N is 12, and your y is going to be 1.5, and then minus 1. That's going to be the numerator. Now what's in the bracket will be divided by APR divided by n. Your APR is 0.03 divided by n. That's going to be 12. Now, we're going to go ahead and multiply, enter this in the calculator. In this case here, we're going to have 100, and then times, and then left parentheses for this bracket, and then another left parentheses, 1 plus 0.03 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then the hat key for your exponent. We're going to do 12 times 1.5. Then I'm going to use my right arrow key to get out of that, and then minus 1, and then close parentheses. Now for the denominator, it has to be divided by, and I'm going to put that in parentheses as well. So left parentheses 0.03 divided by 12, close parentheses. And then press enter. Now here we're going to round to okay, let me check my math here. Okay, correction, this should be 1.25, not 1.5, 1.25. Okay, that's the correct answer here. Okay. I even got 1.5 here on my paper. Okay. So that exponent should be 12 times 1.25, not 1.5. And I did correct that here. So here you're going to get $1,526. And if we round that off to 2 decimal places, 54 cents. That would be the amount in that savings plan after 15 months at 3%. Okay. All right, here's another example of that, and hopefully I'll do this correct. Find the savings plan balance after 4 years with an APR of 6% and monthly payments of $100. Okay, so now this is after 4 years. So here the Y is going to be equal to 4. Your APR, that's going to be 6%, but 6% as a decimal will be 0.06. So if you've forgotten how to change a percent to a decimal, you drop the percent sign and divide by 100. So if I do 6 divided by 100, that will be 0.06. The payments that you make a month will be $100, and you're making monthly payments, so in a year, N is going to be equal to 12. So now, let's use that formula this time. It'll be A is equal to PMT times, and the numerator will be this, 1 plus APR divided by N. That's going to be raised to the N times Y minus 1. That quantity will be divided by APR over N. So in this case here, we're going to go ahead and substitute what we have here. Your PMT, that's a payment of $100 times, this will be 1 plus APR, the annual percentage rate of 0.06, divided by N, that's 12, raised to the N times Y. n is 12, and here y is going to be 4, and then minus 1. That's going to be divided by your APR, that's 0.06, divided by n, that's going to be 12. $100 times, and then left parentheses, and then left parentheses again. 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12, close parentheses, then the hat key for your exponent, 12 times 4, and then your right arrow to get out of the exponential part, minus 1, close parentheses, divided by, and then left parentheses, 0.06 divided by 12, close parentheses. Then we're going to hit enter. And to 2 decimal places, we're going to have $5,409.78. That amount represents the balance after 4 years with an APR of 6% and monthly payments of $100. Okay, here's the next example. Here we're going to use the savings plan formula to answer the following question. A friend has an IRA with an APR of 6.75%. She started the IRA at age 23 and deposits $40 per month. How much will her IRA contain when she retires at age 65? And then you're going to compare that amount to the total deposits made over the time period. Okay, so we know the annual percentage rate, that's 6.75%. Now, as a decimal, if we do 6.75 divided by 100, you'll get 0.0675. Okay. Now, she's making $40 monthly payments. So your PMT, that's going to be $40. And, of course, it is monthly, so that would mean N is going to be equal to 12. And she started the IRA at age 23, and we want to find out how much will she have when she hits 65. So Y is equal to 65 minus 23. Age 65 minus age 23. That would give us 42. So we want to find out how much she will have in her account after 42 years. Okay, so in this case here, that's where we go ahead and use that formula. A is equal to PMT times the quantity, 1 plus APR over N. That's raised to the N times Y minus 1, all divided by APR divided by N. And you have to excuse my handwriting. So here we're going to substitute here. Your payment, that's $40, a PMT, times, down in the numerator, we're going to have 1 plus your APR, that's 0.0675, divided by N, which is 12, raised to the N times Y. N is 12 and Y is going to be 42. And then minus 1. All divided by APR, that's 0.0675, divided by n, which is 12. So in this case here, we're going to do 40 times, left parentheses, and then left parentheses again, 1 plus 0.0675 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then the hash key to do 12 times 42. Then use the right arrow key, minus 1, close parentheses, and then that's going to be divided by, and then left parentheses, 0.0675 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then hit enter. Now in this case here, it's going to be $113,035.75 if we round it to decimal places. That's the amount that will be in this individual's IRA account after 42 years. And now we want the total deposits made over that time period. Well, she made $40 deposits on a monthly basis for 12 months and for 42 years. So if I take 40, multiply by the 12 months for each year, and then for 42 years, she's made $20,160. In this case, she made total deposits of $20,160. Okay. All right, now let's look at one more of these. You put $400 per month in an investment plan that pays an APR of 3.5%. How much money will you have after 20 years? How much money will you have after 20 years? Okay? $400 per month. That's the payment. And the APR is 3.5%. Well, 3.5% as a decimal will be 0.035. Again, take 3.5, divide that by 100, you'll get the decimal APR. And after 20 years, that's the number of years. And we're doing this $400 per month, so we're doing this monthly. That means your N is going to be 12. So in this case here, the amount after 20 years would be this formula, PMT times 1 plus the APR divided by N raised to the N times Y, and then minus 1. Okay, let me get rid of this parentheses here. The whole thing is divided by APR divided by N. So in this case here, we'll substitute. Your A is the payment, that's $400 times the quantity 1 plus your APR of 0.035 divided by N, which is 12. And that's raised to the N times Y. N is 12 times Y, which is 20. And and then minus 1. And then that's going to be divided by the APR, which is 0.035, divided by N, which is 12. Typing that in the calculator, you're going to have, let's say, 400 times, and then left parentheses and left parentheses again, 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then the hat key, 12 times 20, right arrow, minus 1, close parentheses, then divided by, and then left parentheses, 0.035, divided by 12. So if I was to round that off to the nearest cent, it will be $13,747.71. That represents the amount in that investment plan after 20 years. And now we want the total deposits made over the time period, okay? Well, he made $400. Well, he put $400 per month for 12 months. And this is over a 20-year period. So if I do 400 times 12 times 20, that would end up being $96,000. So over the 20 years, this person has put $96,000 into that particular investment plan. And here, at the end of 20 years, that investment plan has $138,747.71. Okay. Okay, now we're going to plan ahead with a savings plan. Okay. Most people start savings plans with a particular goal in mind, such as saving enough for retirement or enough to buy a new car in a couple of years. The question is, what are the regular payments needed in order to reach that financial goal? This will be the formula that will help you with that. And in this case, you want to find out the payment that you're going to need to make. And it's equal to A times the quantity of APR divided by N divided by the quantity 1 plus APR divided by N raised to the N times Y minus 1. Basically, this part right here is just getting the PMT by itself using algebraic manipulation. Okay. Or in other words, they took the original formula here and multiplied both sides by the reciprocal of this right here to get PMT by itself. Okay? So now we're going to use that formula to find out this. Here we're going to use the savings plan formula to answer the following question. Here your goal is to create a college fund for your child. Suppose you find a fund that offers an APR of 4%. How much should you deposit monthly to accumulate $89,000 in 12 years? Okay? So in this case, here we have a fund with an APR of 4%. And now 4% as a decimal is, of course, 0.04. Okay? And we want to accumulate $89,000, so that's going to be A. And we want to accumulate that amount in 12 years. So y is equal to 12. And we want to find out how much should we invest each month or monthly. That means your n is going to be equal to 12. Okay. So this is where we use that payment formula here. PMT is equal to the amount multiplied by APR divided by N divided by the quantity 1 plus APR divided by N raised to the N times Y minus 1. Now let's substitute into that formula here. PMT is what we're trying to find. Your A is $89,000 times your APR is 0.04 divided by N, that's going to be 12. That's going to be divided by 1 plus APR of 0.04 divided by N, which is 12. Raised to the N times Y. N is 12 and Y is 12. So it'll be 12 times 12 minus 1. Let's see, we're going to round to 2 decimal places, by the way, in our final answer. So in this case here, we're going to have 89,000 times, and then left parentheses 0.04 divided by 12, close parentheses, divided by, now the denominator will start with left parentheses and then left parentheses here. 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then the hat key for the exponent, 12 times 2. 12 times 12. Right arrow to get out of it, minus 1. Close parentheses, and then hit enter. So in this case here, to the nearest cent or to 2 decimal places, it will be $482.55. That would be, in this case, the monthly payment that we need to make in order to accumulate $89,000 in 12 years. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next example. Okay, at age 39, you start saving for retirement. If your investment plan pays an APR of 4% and you want to have $1.4 million when you retire in 26 years, how much should you deposit monthly? Okay, so in this case here, our APR is 4%. Or 0.04, like in that last example that we did. Okay. The amount we want to reach is $1.4 million. Now, if I was to write that as a regular number, I know 1 million is this. So 1.4 times 1 million would be $1,400,000. And we want to retire in 26 years, so Y is going to be 26. And we're doing this on a monthly basis as indicated here. So N is going to be 12. Because we want to know how much should we deposit monthly. Okay, so we're going to use that formula that we just used in example 5. to find out what the payment is going to be. PMT is equal to A times APR divided by N, or divided by the quantity 1 plus APR divided by N raised to the N times Y minus 1. So here your PMT is going to be equal to this. The A is at $1,400,000 multiplied by the APR. Again, excuse me for doing that. 0.04 divided by N, which is 12. Then that's going to be divided by 1 plus 0.04 again for the APR divided by N is 12, raised to the N times Y. N is 12 times Y, which is 26, and then minus 1. So in this case here, let's see, I'm going to type in 1, 4 with 5 zeros behind it for 1,400,000 times 0.04 divided by 12, close parentheses, divided by, and then left parentheses, then left parentheses again, 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12, close parentheses, and that's raised to the 12 times 26, and then right parentheses minus 1, close parentheses, and then hit enter. If we round that off to the nearest cent, it will be, or to two decimal places, it will be $2,558.02. That will be the amount that we should invest each month if we want $1.4 million when we retire at age 26. Okay, now the next thing we'll look at is total and annual return. Let's say we want to consider an investment that grows from an original principal, which is P, to a later accumulated balance called A. The total return is going to be the percentage change in the investment value. So the total return is going to be equal to A minus P, and that's divided by P, multiplied by 100%. Okay? The original principal is going to be P, your accumulated balance is going to be A. And also we want to consider an investment that grows from an original principal, P, to a later accumulated balance, A, in Y years. The annual return is going to be the annual percentage yield, or the APY, that would give the same overall growth. So here the annual return is going to be A divided by P. That's going to be raised to the 1 over Y power, then minus 1. Okay, so we will start with example 7 to show you how that is done. Compute the total and annual returns on the described investment. Okay? Here the total return, well, for 5 years after buying 150 shares of XYZ stock for $70 per share, you sell the stock for $15,500. Okay? And we'll want the total return and the annual return as a percent for both. Well, the accumulated value is at $15,500. The principal, which is your P, that's the number of shares multiplied by the dollar amount per share. So we're going to multiply 150 times $70. And that's going to give you this amount, $10,500. Okay? That's what A is, and that's what P is. So from here, we can find out what the total return is going to be. Your total return is this formula, A minus P divided by P multiplied by 100%. So in this case here, your total return is going to be A, which is $15,500, minus the P, which is $10,500. That's going to be divided by the P, which is again 10,500, times 100%. So on the calculator, if you do 15,500, I'm going to do left parentheses, 15,500 minus 10,500, close parentheses, divided by 10,500 times 100. To the nearest, to one decimal place, this will be 47.6. So the total return would be 47.6%. Okay. And now for the annual return, well, I know Y is going to be equal to 5 because this is 5 years after buying 150 shares. So to find my annual return, I'll move this over. That's going to be equal to A divided by P, and that quantity is to the 1 over Y power, minus 1. So here the A was $15,500 divided by the P was $10,500. That's raised to the 1 over Y. Y is going to be 5, so it'll be to the 1/5 power minus 1. And this can be done in the calculator. So if I do 15,000, let's start over. Left parentheses, $15,500 divided by $10,500, and then close the parentheses, and then press your hat key for your exponent to the 1/5 power, 1 divided by 5. Then use your right arrow key to get out of the exponential part, and then do minus 1. Now you're going to get the decimal. In this case, I'm going to say 0.081. But as a percent, because that's what they want, as a percent for the annual return, we're going to take that 0.81 and multiply it by 100. That would be approximately 8.1%. So here the annual return in this case will be 8.1%. So that's how we do example 7. Okay, example 8. Okay, here we're going to compute the total and annual returns for the following investment. 19 years after purchasing shares in a mutual fund for $6,300, the shares are sold for $11,700. And here you want to know the total return. That's going to be how much. Okay, in this case here, your P is going to be $6,300. Okay. And again, you're going to have to forgive me for making another adjustment here so I can write this out better. P is $6,300. The shares are sold at $11,700. That's the amount. So now for the total return, that will be A minus P divided by P times 100%. So here your A is going to be $11,700 minus P, which is $6,300. All that's divided by P, which is 6,300, times 100%. So here, left parentheses, $11,700 minus 6,300, close parentheses, divided by 6,300 times 100. Well, the one decimal place, I'm going to get 85.7%. That will be the total return as a percent, 85.7%. Okay? And now for the annual return. So here the Y is equal to 5. Your annual return, that formula is going to be A divided by P to the 1 over Y minus 1. Now that A was this $11,700 divided by P, that was 6,300. Raised to the 1 over Y, that'll be 1 over 5 and then minus 1. So if I do left parentheses 11,700 divided by 6,300, close parentheses, hit your hat key for the exponent, and then 1 divided by 5, that'd be to the 1/5 power. Use your right arrow key to get out of it, then minus 1. Now, I'm also going to go ahead and multiply by 100 because they want this as a percent. So the one decimal place, this will be 13. Okay, correction here. This should be 19. Because it says 19 years. So Y is 19. Where did I get 5 from? I will not know. And that can change that answer. So it'll be 1 over 19. Okay, so let's try this again. Left parentheses 11,700 divided by 6,300, close parentheses, and then hat key 1 divided by 19 minus 1. And now times 100, because they want it as a percent. So the one decimal place will be 3.3%. So here the annual return in this case will be 3.3%. 2.3%. Okay. Okay, now here's another example. In this case here, for 4 years, after paying $3,800 for shares in a startup company, you sell those shares for $3,700. So here we're going to be taking a loss here. And we want the total return and the annual return on this. Okay, so here that P is $3,800. The accumulated amount that we came up with was a loss, $3,700. Now we want the total return. That's going to be A minus P divided by P times 100%. So here A is 3,700 minus P is 3,800 divided by P 3,800 times 100%. Okay, 3,700 minus 3,800, close parentheses, divided by 3,800 times 100%. To one decimal place, this will be a negative 2.6. So it'll be negative 2.6%. Okay, so that total return is going to be a loss of 2.6%. And now for the annual return, now this is 4 years in this case, so it'll be y is equal to 4. Your annual return in this case will be A divided by P raised to the 1 over y minus 1. So your A is 3,700 and P was 3,800. That's raised to the 1 over y, so it'll be 1 over 4 minus 1. Okay, so here you got 3,700 divided by 3,800, close parentheses, then that's raised to the 1 divided by 4, right arrow to get out of it, minus 1. Now that's the decimal. We want the percent. Let's multiply it by 100. And we're going to round that off to one decimal place, so that will be a negative 0.7%. So in this case here, this will be a 0.7% loss on the annual return. Okay. All right, next we'll talk about types of investments. Types of investments. We'll talk about stocks and then bonds, then cash, investment considerations, and financial data dealing with stocks. Starting with stocks or equity, it gives you a share of ownership in a company. Here you invest some principal amount to purchase a stock, and the only way to get your money out is to sell the stock. Stock prices change with time, so the sale may give you either a gain or a loss on your original investment. Okay? Pretty much heard of the stock market. Usually there's gains and there's some losses. Usually, it depends. A bond or debt represents a promise of future cash. Here you buy a bond by paying some principal amount to the issuing government or corporation. The issuer pays you simple interest as opposed to compound interest. The issuer promises to pay back your original investment plus interest at some later date. Okay. And then when you do cash investments, those are generally earned interest and include the following. They generally earn interest. Money you deposit into bank accounts do earn interest. Certificates of deposits and U.S. Treasury bills. Okay. Now, here's some investment considerations. Now, one is liquidity. How difficult is it to take out your money? Okay, that's one consideration you want to take. The risk is very important. Okay, is your investment principal at risk? Okay, every time you invest in a bond or cash investment or in the stock market, there's risk that will be involved. And your return, how much return, total or annual, can you expect on that investment? Okay. Now let's look at financial data, which is stocks. Here you want to sell the stock for more than you paid for it, in which case you have a capital gain on the sale of that stock. And number two, make money while you own the stock if the corporation distributes part or all of its profits to stockholders as dividends. Okay. All right, now on the next page is how to understand a stock quote. Okay, this is what a stock quote looks like, and there are bits and pieces of it that are important to understand. One of them, of course, is a stock symbol, like Microsoft Corporation MSFT. That's the stock symbol. And then here, what last is going to be the price per share in dollars at the time shown. This right here is a change. That's a change in stock price in dollars since the prior day's close. And then the change is going to be the percent change in share price since that prior day's close. So if you, they give a percent. The volume is going to be the number of shares that has been traded on that day. Okay. And this part right here represents the open, the high, and the low share prices so far today. This is the opening amount. That's the high share price, and that's the low share price. And here is a 52-week high low. Okay, that's the highest and the lowest share prices during the past 52 weeks. Okay, now on the right side is the market cap. That would be this right here in millions of dollars. That's the total stock value of the company equal to the total number of outstanding shares multiplied by the share price. And then you have your price to earnings ratio, P/E. That's the share price divided by the earnings or the profit per share over the past year. And your dividend in the latest quarter, that's the dividend paid during the last quarter per share. And then you have your dividend yield. That's the annual yield of the dividend based on the current share price and dividend per share. And we have shares outstanding. That's the total number of shares that exist for that company. Okay, so this is what a stock quote looks like. Okay, and what the bits and pieces are that are in that particular stock quote. Okay, let's take a look at this example here. Here we're going to use the stock table to answer parts A through G. Assume that the data for company XYZ stock comes from an online trade or online quote you looked at during lunch. So this is what the table looks like. And we're going to answer A through G. All right, in part A, what is the symbol for company XYZ stock? The symbol. That's this part right here that's in parentheses. It's just XYZ. Okay? So the symbol is just simply XYZ. They give that to you in parentheses here. And in this case, they're going to give you a drop-down menu to choose which one. So in this case here, we're going to choose XYZ down here at the bottom. Okay, there it is. Okay, now part B asks, what was the price per share at the end of the day on yesterday? Okay. Now let's take a look at this here. The last amount was $15.23. There was a change of positive 0.46. And we want the price per share on yesterday. Okay, so in this case here, that means that price was lower than $15.23. So we're going to take $15.23 and we need to subtract 46 cents or 0.46. And this will give us $14.77. That represents the price per share at the end of the day on yesterday. Okay, now part C, based on the current price, what is the total value of shares that have been traded so far today? Okay, now I'm going to need to do this at the very bottom, okay, because I'm not going to have spaces to do this because the work is going to be different. The current price is that one that says last, $15.23. That's up here. Let's look at the volume. If I can find it, here it is, 60 million. That is your volume. So now, to find the value based on the current price, we're going to take that current price of $15.23, multiplied by the volume of 60 million. So 15.23 times 60 million, because that's got 7 zeros in it. It's going to be this. $913,800,000. Now, in the answer, they want that as million to the nearest whole number. So, in this case here, this part right here represents a million, so it'll be 913, but this 8 will make that 913 become 914 million. Okay. Now you could have did this. 15.23 times 60 And then 913.8 will round up to 914. Okay. Now, part D. What percentage of all company XYZ shares have been traded so far today? Okay, now we got to look at, in this case, the shares that are outstanding, which is 5,487 in millions. And in this case here, the volume was 60 million, okay? So I'm going to write the volume as 60 with the word million. And shares outstanding that's 5,487 million. So I'm going to take that, the volume, which is 60, divide that by 5,487, and then multiply that by 100%. It'd be easier to do it that way to find out what the percentage of shares have been sold. So 60 divided by 5,487 times 100. That will give me 1.09 if we were to round that off to the nearest hundred as they asked for, percent. So in this case, this will be 1.09%. Okay. And now part E. Suppose you own 50 shares of company XYZ. Based on the current price and dividend yield, what total dividends should you expect to receive this year? Okay, so we have 50 shares at the current $15.23 price. If we multiply that out, it would be $761.50. Okay. Now your total dividend is going to be the volume of shares owned multiplied by the dividend yield. So in this case, you own 50 shares of company XYZ stock. Stock. Multiplied by the dividend yield. Up here, the dividend yield is 14.71%. So that's given to you. But 14.71% as a decimal, when we divide by 100, it'll be 0.1471. Multiply that by 50, you're going to get, it's the amount of the volume of shares that you own. That's 761.50. Okay. So let me go ahead and correct all of that. So 761.50 times 0.1471. And to the nearest cent, or to two decimal places, as I have here, this will be $112.02. Okay, that 761.50 came from the from this part right here. Okay, because I have to find out the amount of the shares at that current price, and then multiply that by the dividend yield of 0.1471. Okay, so that's part E. Part F. What were the earnings per share for company XYZ? Okay, let me do F up here, and you're going to have to forgive me for this, for being all over the place doing this. Earnings per share. That's going to be the price of each individual share divided by what they call the P/E ratio. So the earnings per share, that's up here, $15.23. The P/E ratio is up here. That's 15.85. Take that number 15.23, divide that by 15.85, and we're going to round that off to two decimal places. That's going to be 0.96, which is what I came up with. So the earnings per share will be 96 cents per share. And then finally, part G. How much total profit did company XYZ earn in the past year? Okay, let me go ahead and fill in E of $1,112.02 and F. So now we want to find out what G is. So the profit would be the earnings per share times the outstanding shares. So the earnings per share from part F was 0.96. I'm going to multiply that by that 5487, which is up here, the shares outstanding, and that's in millions. Our answer is going to be in millions anyway, so 0.96 times 5487 would be, and if I was to round this up to, let's say, to the nearest tenth or one decimal place, that would be 5267.5. Okay? And that's going to be in millions. Okay? So that's how we do example 10 here, dealing with the stock market. Okay. All right, next we'll look at financial data, which will be bonds. Bonds are issued with three main characteristics. The face value, or the par value, is going to be the price you must pay the issuer to even buy the bond. And second, the coupon rate of the bond is the simple interest rate that the issuer promises to pay. And then number three, the maturity date is the date on which the issuer promises to repay the face value of that bond. Okay, so now if we want to find the current yield, that's going to be the annual interest payment divided by the current price of that bond. Current yield is going to be the annual interest payment divided by the current price of that bond. So in this example, example 11, we want to calculate the current yield on the described bond. Okay, so here we got a $1,000 Treasury bond with a coupon rate of 2.8% that has a market value of $875. We want to find out what that current yield is going to be. All right, first of all, I need what the annual interest payment is going to be. The annual interest payment is always going to be the coupon rate of 2.8% multiplied by the amount of that bond, $1,000. Now, 2.8% as a decimal will be 0.028. And of means to multiply. So if I do 0.028 times 1,000, I'm going to get 28. That represents the annual interest payment of $28. Now I'm going to use that to find the current yield. And to find the current yield, we use that formula, annual interest payment divided by the current price of the bond. So the annual interest payment was $28. Divide that by the current price of the bond, which is your market value, $875. Okay, now they want that answer as a percent. So let's do 28 divided by 875. That's your decimal. They want it as a percent, so we got to do times 100. So this will end up being 3.2%. And if they wanted to two decimal places, that means we got to add a zero behind it in this case. So 3.20% would be the current yield for this situation. Okay, I think we got one more thing we're going to look at, and that is the mutual funds. Okay, let me put this up here because this one is in color. When comparing mutual funds, the most important factors are the following. The fees charged for investing, that's not shown on most mutual fund tables. And number two, how well the funds perform. Now keep in mind that past performance is no guarantee of future results. Okay, and this is what a mutual fund quotation looks like. The NAV means the net asset value. That's essentially the share price. That is the current value in dollars of each share in that fund. And right here, this is going to be the name of the fund, Vanguard 5000 Index Fund. The symbol for that will be VFINX. That's the ticket symbol for the fund. Your YTD return in percent. That's the total return on the fund's shares year to date since January 1. And this right here represents the annual returns. That's the average annual return on the fund's shares for the periods indicated, which is going to be the past year up to the past 10 years. So here they have the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year. Okay. Now, in this example here we got a table somewhat like that I just showed you, and we're going to answer the following questions, assuming that the mutual fund quote below is one that you found online today, and you're going to complete parts A through C below. So in part A, suppose you invest $3,000 in this fund today. How many shares will you buy? So in this case, I need to look at what the net asset value is, that's NAV, which is in this case $10.49. Okay. Now, let's look at the number of shares. We're investing $10,000, so that's going to be $3,000, so that's going to be the investment divided by the net asset value. We're investing $3,000, so it'll be 3,000 divided by 10.49. And we're rounding the two decimal places, so if you take 3,000, divide that by 10.49, you'll get to two decimal places 285.99 shares. Okay. Now in part B, suppose you had $3,000 in this fund 5 years ago. How much would your investment be worth now? Okay. Now 5 years ago. So we need to look at the 5-year annual percentage rate from this table. Okay. If you look here, your 5-year APR right here, that's 3.71%. Now 3.71% as a decimal will be 0.0371. And we're investing $3,000, so your P is 3,000 and Y is 5. Okay, now to find out the amount of the investment, we have to use that formula that we talked about in a previous video. A is equal to P times the quantity 1 plus APR raised to the Y power. And your P is going to be 3,000 multiplied by 1 plus your APR of 0.0371 raised to the power of Y, which is 5. So here if I do 3,000 times, and then left parentheses 1 plus 0.0371, close parentheses, raised to the 5th power. To the nearest cent, or to two decimal places, will be $3,599.35. Okay, so that would be the amount that it will be worth now if that investment was in that fund 5 years ago. All right, in part C, let's say the same dollar amount of $3,000, let's say it was in the fund 10 years ago. How much would it be now? So let's look at the 10-year APR from that table. Here's 3.18%. And as a decimal, it'll be 0.0318. And again, your P is 3,000. And here Y is going to be equal to 10. So in this case here, we're going to still use that formula in part B. A is equal to P times the quantity 1 plus APR raised to the Y power. We're using that because we're dealing with an annual interest rate in this case. So your P is 3,000 times 1 plus your APR of 0.0318. That quantity will be to the 10th power. Y is 10. So 3,000 times 1 plus 0.0318, close parentheses, raised to the 10th. And to two decimal places, it'll be $4,102.76. Okay, that would be the value of that investment had $3,000 was invested 10 years ago. Okay. All right, so that's going to complete this video on savings plan and investments.